So again, welcome everyone. Thanks for taking time to join us. My name is Beth Luter, and I am on the Granular Marketing team. I am here in Northeast Nebraska. I'm on the family farm, so I'm also a Granular customer, as well as work on the Granular Marketing team. I've been in ag marketing communications for about 15 years. And really excited to moderate this session. So with me today from the Granular team is Dana. Can you wave, Dana, with the beautiful brick background? So Dana is a digital business manager. He works with growers in Eastern Canada. He and his wife reside in Stittsville, Ontario, with their 3 children. So Dana works hand in hand with growers to really figure out how Granular business can help optimize their farming operations. But prior to Granular, Dana worked in recruiting and helped build sales teams. And outside of work, I think this is really cool. You'll find Dana barbecuing on his smoker. We actually had a conversation about that this morning, and he filled me with knowledge on smoking and cooking for his family. So thanks, Dana. You can take it away here in a minute. But before that, I'd like to introduce our other panelists. So Jace Klein. Hey, Jace. Jace is a customer success manager who works solely with customers in Canada. He grew up on a farm in central Iowa and has been with Granular for about 2 years now. Prior to that, he was in consulting, promoting sustainable farming practices, and he's a big hunter. So outside of work, Jace likes to hunt, fish, and think about the next growing season. He lives in central Iowa with his 1-year-old son. So that is the crew here today. Dana has a few slides he's going to show here first, but before we get going, I would love to encourage those in the audience, please hit us up with questions. We've got the chat functionality at the bottom. We've got that Q&A functionality. We would love your questions to make this more of a conversation and not just a PowerPoint. So please use those functionality, either the chat or the Q&A, and we'll take questions throughout as we get going. So with that, Dana, did you want to take it away here?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for the intros, Beth, and thanks everybody for being able to make the time out of your day to come to the virtual outdoor farm show. I was just saying to a few colleagues yesterday, I remember being in shorts and a t-shirt last year, and you know there was frost here in my area this morning. So it's definitely been a challenging year, so to speak. But I've been with Granular now for coming up on 3 years. I've worked with many farms across the Ontario region. And I guess what I'd like to do today is, as Beth mentioned, try to keep it interactive if we can, rather than do a big product dump on you all. If we can keep it conversational, if there's questions, would love that as well. Not sure how many of you are familiar with Granular, but for today's focus, you know, we're going to focus on the farm management side of our software. So Granular Business makes it easier for farms to manage the things that they can manage. We're in a world where it's, you know, the markets are not the greatest, given it's great that we have the American dollar going for us here, being in Canada, but essentially what we've done is we complement your lifelong knowledge with software and data science to run a more profitable farm. So farming, it's been historically very tactical. There's a lot of operational detail, and essentially Granular allows you to look at maybe different crop types or different land rents, or just ways to control the things that you can control from a profitability standpoint. Next slide. So we have 3 different products that we offer in the marketplace. One is Granular Insights, which is directed scouting and satellite imagery, where it's near daily satellite imagery, with the ability to also, coming in November, have yield maps, as planted maps, and light financials. So being able to track your NP and K costs, your land rent costs, your other overhead costs, and just have light field level profitability. The second program that we have is Granular Business. This is where we can go into deep detail on each field, on, you know, the exact cost of each individual product down to each field, or managing your actual grain contracts, or managing your, not only your grain inventory, but also managing your crop input levels. I see there's a chat. Is there a question there, Beth?
I don't think so yet. I think it's just from Dave with the Glacier team reminding that we're recording. So I think we're good for now.
Okay, perfect, fantastic. And then the third product that we offer is Granular Agronomy. So this is more around precision ag and variable rate seeding, variable rate fertility, soil sampling, and of that nature. But as I just mentioned earlier, we're going to focus more on the granular business product. So if you take a look at this slide, this may look like your operation. You're doing planning on paper or Excel. Maybe it's still in dad's head. And essentially, you verbally assign work, or you just go do, your planting, you do your spraying. You're basically writing down actuals in that notebook that just sits in the cab, right? You want to make a decision. Maybe you take it from that notebook and you put it in a program like Excel. You wait, maybe there's the market spikes in July, as it tends to. You manually build a report and decide if, how much grain you're going to sell based on what the crops look like. Time passes, and then at the end of the year, you analyze all that data and the financials, and really you're hoping you made the right decisions throughout the year. So that's the typical way that most farms are working before I start working with them, or before we start working with them. Granular works a little bit different in being able to have those real-time financials from a cloud-based software. We're able to build a budget at the start of the year and collaborate in real time, and really try to simplify that entire process. So this is kind of the way it works, is essentially it didn't go over, apologies. So if you see this slide, it's a real-time connection from the field to the office, which then updates, okay, this field got planted. This is what it costs. This is how much seed and how much, fertilizer we put down, starter fertilizer. And then right down to throughout the season at harvest time, these are the crops that we've got. This is how much came off of this field back to the bins or down to Hamilton. Wherever the crop is moving to, we can manage that through our mobile app, right? And then being able to report on that and immediately share that data from any device, anywhere, with your trusted advisors. So I've talked a little bit at very high level on granular business and the benefits, but Granular is not just a software product. It's a premium farm management product with technology as its core. But part of the subscription, you get a dedicated customer success manager, and their mission is, do everything in their powers to make sure that you're successful and using Granular to make those profitable decisions on your operation. So with that being said, I think I can hand this over to Jason. Maybe Jason, you can talk a little bit to, our commitment to customer success.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dana. I just saw in the chat, it looked like there might have been some technical difficulties with viewing slides. So I was just going to bring that to attention. But yeah, as far as the customer success team, just like Dana mentioned, I'm a customer success manager. I work solely with farms in Canada, a lot in Eastern Ontario, and then out throughout Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba. And so really with our customer success team, you'll have myself as a manager. And so we really are that strategic aspect to your operation. So you're going to have goals, and you're going to have things that you want to accomplish with using this program. And so really with just our knowledge of the software and knowing the steps we need to take to get to it is really where we're going to come in and be able to help out and make sure that you achieve those goals and really be that strategic part towards your operation. You'll also have a dedicated trainer. So as you can imagine, there's lots and lots of moving parts and lots of things going on your farm every day. And so the first step is going to be setting that up. And so you'll have a dedicated trainer to work with you, and they're going to help you train you on how to use the software and be there with you through implementation as you set up all your crop plans and things that we'll show here later on today. We also have a dedicated support team. So We have unlimited, services to chat or to live in calling or email. We always have a dedicated support team working Monday through Friday for you, and they're always there to answer your questions at any point throughout the day. We also have data specialists. They are an a la carte service you can provide. A lot of times we understand that folks want to get the information out of Granular, and they're going to find that very useful and very valuable. But oftentimes, the time commitment it takes to get that information in just unfortunately isn't there. And so that is where our team can help provide some support with entering data so you can get the valuable information that you need out of it. A little bit about kind of what the journey looks like as far as getting going with Granular Business, and then kind of what it would look like throughout your time. So first off is if you were to sign up with Granular Business, we'd have a kickoff meeting. So this is really going to be an opportunity for myself as a customer success manager, your trainer, Dana would probably be there as well. Just a chance for everyone to get to know each other, really talk about your business goals, your goals for Granular Business, and just really making sure that we have a clear path on what you need to see and what it's going to take to be successful for you. Second phase, kind of go throughout 4 phases in the setup process. So the first one, you're going to be working primarily with your trainer. It's going to be dedicated just to really going through and setting up. So there's going to be a lot of inputs, chemicals, all the products and all the prices that you're using is going to be setting that up along with your field boundaries and that sort of stuff. Second phase is going to be planning. So it's going to be creating crop plans. Obviously, you have a certain workflow you go through, whether it's you're putting on some fertilizer, then you'll be doing some tillage, seeding, and then going throughout pre, post, and everything that goes on with what it takes to produce a crop. We're going to plan that out and budget at the beginning of the year and assign those out to the appropriate fields for the year. Phase 3 is going to be kind of, actually the part of capturing that data. So whether it's going to be using some machine data or maybe Granular's mobile app is going to be just capturing that data, understanding what's going on in your fields and bringing that into the software. And your trainer and customer success manager would work with you and what is going to be the best option for you to get that data in. So once we have everything set up, planned, and we've captured this data, that is going to be, again, where myself as a customer success manager is going to work with you in analyzing this data. So whether that's through, we have a strategic business review, is going to be a sit down and just talk about where you started and what your goals wanted to be, and more importantly, be able to analyze and view the data that you had collected throughout the year and be able to really, really get in on that data. So I think that is all we've got. Are there any other questions related to getting up and going and kind of what the customer journey looks like here?
Jason, I don't see any in the queue, but one that I have heard frequently is, the phases are nice, but rough timeline, right? Are we talking weeks, months on average? What kind of timeline do you see customers taking to get going?
Yep. So to get onboarded initially, so getting through that setup planning phase, typically we say about 10 hours of your time, if you can commit to be in and setting that up, is kind of what that time commitment looks like. So yeah, usually that, depending on how that 10 hours can come about, anywhere from a week to 3 or 4 weeks is typical, depending on your schedule.
Cool. Another one that I hear frequently is there a better time to start with Granular, during the year versus another, right? Is it better at the beginning of the growing season or the end? How do you typically answer that question, Jace?
Yeah, it's I guess, right, it's whatever works best for everybody. Obviously there might be certain times of a year that's better to start it. I think most typically right after harvest, kind of over the winter months before seeding starts is probably the time we see most folks come on. But certainly, and Dana can attest to, we work with lots of customers that come on in the middle of the year. It really doesn't. We make it pretty easy to add in records and catch up on things. So even if you start halfway through the year, it's pretty easy to back populate that information and still get ready to go for the rest of the year. So. Really anytime, but yeah, I think most common is kind of in that 10 hours of your time. So quote unquote, if there was ever an off season for farming, that'd be then.
Yeah, I'd second that, Jace. You know, working in Ontario, I've had a lot of growers in Ontario come on board in those in you know, that July timeframe, end of June, into July, and you know, get caught up even before wheat harvest in August. So perfect. With that, did you want me to, maybe I'll go into a bit of a demo and we can show the group the actual live software, not just some slide decks.
Yeah, I think that's great, Dana. And just to remind everyone in the audience, feel free to use that Q&A button even as we get into the product here. And we're happy to pause and take questions as they come in. But yeah, thanks, Dana. You can head over.
Perfect. Can everybody see my screen? Is this up here now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Fantastic. Okay, so as we talked earlier, granular business, it's mostly about the financials and being able to manage, all the moving parts in your operation, right? So as Jason talked to, right, we're putting in all of your inputs, right? So during the setup, we're putting in all your inputs, what your cost is. We're putting in the crops that you grow. We're putting in, all of your field boundaries. Here in Ontario, I've dealt with, farms that have upwards of 400 boundaries, and then, you go to Western Canada and they might have double the acres on 3 fields. So it's all different, obviously, across the country here. We've got entities. I work with several farms where dad's still involved. There's the son. They're able to put multiple entities in this program and market grain under different entities. Also, inventory locations, right, where you may store grain. You might have third-party storage. Even all of your crop inputs, we have your inventory locations. So if you're about to spray Roundup, you can come in here and know exactly what you have on hand before heading out to the field. Land agreements, cash rents is another big thing. So all of your agreements that you have on land, whether it be crop sharing or just straight up cash rent or whatever the agreement is, it's pretty nimble. We're able to have that in the system. People, this is another big one. You can put all your laborers and you can put a cost, a cost to the labor, and we can attribute that right down to a field level of what labor is costing you in each field. Same thing with equipment. We can put a cost to run the equipment. And then when we look at financial accounts, this is where Granular really stands out amongst a lot of the different farm management software that I've used, is we have the ability to create financials. And I can just dive into this just a little bit quickly, but we can add accounts and we can make these accounts as a cost per task to each crop plan, or if you think of it like something that you just are paying for, maybe like a liability insurance, you can mask it right across the entire operation. And then as far as integrations goes, if anybody here is using John Deere Operations Center, we've got seamless integration with John Deere, light integration with QuickBooks. Is there any questions before I move on here, Beth?
Looks like we do have one. How long does it take to set up all the inputs in this software?
Yeah, great question. So typically when it comes to the dedicated trainer, a lot of times in Ontario, I'm sitting down with the farm and doing that. I get most of this done in about 2 to 3 hours, just sitting down with the operation. Jason mentioned something about the support functionality being a la carte. We also have other support functions. There's obviously a cost to it, but if you've got all your invoices from your retailer and your suppliers, we can input that, basically for you in the back end as well. I don't know, Jace, if you want to talk to that.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Dana said, that's we understand some folks need to get everything in here, but may not have the time to do it. So just like we can help getting data in, we can do the same thing with getting set up. Like I said, it's a small extra cost to have our team do that for you. But if you've got, a retailer that you buy all your seed, chemical, fertilizer, or whatever that looks like, we can just really get that information however we can from them, whether it's a printout or Excel sheet, whatever that looks like, and go and enter all that for you.
Related question, this isn't in the queue, but I hear this frequently. How far back do you recommend going, right? If we have a grower that has, a decade worth of data, how far do you go back to really see the value of this software? Is it worth it for just a year? Do you recommend 2? What are your
I've seen growers just make decisions with only 1 year's data, being able to see, field by field. But I mean, I think it depends, it really depends on what you're trying to make a decision on, right? If you're trying to make a decision on what crops to plant and what fields, I'd want almost maybe a 5-year, 3 to 5 year crop rotation history, right, to make some of those decisions. But if it's, a decision just based on, I don't know, whether to spray fungicide. I had customers this year, for example, just with how dry it was, wondering about, spraying fungicide on beans, right? And I had a lot of customers just based on their scouting practices save a lot of money having field level profitability at that exact time in the year, whether they were going to spray fungicide or not in certain fields. Just, I don't know if you have examples of various years of data. And
Yeah, like you said, I think something where if you're looking at on a crop level or even a field level, looking at profitability and especially land costs, like if you're looking at whether you're growing corn, soybeans, wheat, to just, base 1 year field level profitability, you don't want to punish a certain field just because you couldn't grow corn on it that year. So like you said, maybe if you're doing like a 3-year rotation or whatever that looks like, being able to add in all 3 of those years and allocate, all the costs to that crop. And then you can actually break down and see what crop was most profitable, or even then you have a better idea of what boundaries are more profitable, the more data you get into it. So certainly the more data you get in here, the more powerful things you can do with it. But like you said, some of those in-season decisions can still be made with just, the 1 year data that you're collecting.
All right, that's great.
Cool. Thank you, Bev. We have a couple more questions. So another one around data. How long does it take? How long would the live, daily, weekly data input take? All right, so another question of what's the process to get data into Granular Business?
Great question. So I guess, you know what, I'm going to do this. I wasn't actually going to show this, but we're just going to show this individual how data gets in, right? So essentially when you are, if it's with John Deere, like if you're using machine data from John Deere and it's wirelessly syncing, it's coming in every 24 hours to answer that question. For everything else, if you're doing it through our mobile app, it's instantaneous. So essentially I'm going to just come in here and share my phone with you. And make sure that we do this here. There's my phone up there, guys. Can everyone see that? Okay, yep. Perfect. So Granular has this nice mobile app. So to answer your question, essentially, if you're going to do corn pre-emerge, you essentially have exactly what your mix is, exactly what products are going into that. We have, if you're a bigger operation and you have lots of operators, we have turn-by-turn directions right to that exact field. Essentially, all you have to do is start this work order, complete the work order, complete that it's done, and, say the areas that you covered, right? So maybe it was a bit wet. You weren't able to spray everything, right? You only sprayed 241 acres based on your monitor. And you can use the planned amounts or your rate. Let's just say your rate was down, right? Let's say on average it was only 14.3 gallons per acre. You hit confirm. You're done. Data is back in Granular. You're able to basically look at the costs of everything that was done and have full traceability of that product leaving your shed, going to your field, just by pushing those 4 buttons there. Is there any other questions that I should ask, maybe that I can answer on mobile while I'm here?
I don't know that this is necessarily a mobile question, but the next question in the queue is this: is Granular Business a customized database where I make all the decisions and interpret the data, or does it have some experiential programming and can make it suggestions? So I think it's if I'm interpreting this question correctly, is it a matter of, am I, analyzing the information here, or what can I, hope to glean from this software? If I'm not interpreting that right, please comment Q&A in the Q&A again, whoever's asking this. But it's just, I think it's a matter of interpretation. Who's interpreting the data?
Yeah, I could take that one if you want, Dana.
Yeah, go ahead, Jace. Yeah, that's fine.
So we give you all the tools, I guess, to help analyze and interpret that data. Although I've worked with a lot of farms on a lot of operations, I don't think it's my my place to tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing on your farm as far as an advisor. But certainly we're going to help you build out the reports, analyze the data in a way that's meaningful to you, so you have the ability and the power to make those decisions. So I guess to answer your question, there's not any built-in suggestions as far as, oh, this might be too high, this might be too low. What we're going to do is bring out the information that's actually meaningful to you and allow you to make those educated decisions on what's best for your operation.
I guess I'll just add to that too, in case if I may interpret this, if you're also asking, like, is this like a templated solution? The answer is no. Like, it's basically a blank canvas before you start Granular Business. Like, you make your own crop plans. We've heard of the digital transformation in the finance or the banking world. Essentially what Granular Business allows you to do is digitally transform your farm. So taking everything that you're already doing or how you grow corn, digitalizing that, and being able to completely have that workflow show up in your phone too. One other thing that I'll just before I get off the mobile app, another big question that I always get is, okay, so how do you handle inventory, right? I'm harvesting my field, I'm hauling a load to the elevator. That's all right here as well. So, you can haul loads right from home to the elevator, manage your crop contracts right here from the phone, or another big question that I get is, hey, my grain marketer calls me and, there's, pricing's really good. What do I have to sell? Right. This is where you can actually view your crop inventory balances and, see what you have contracted and what's sitting in the bin right from your phone, any place, anytime. I'm going to get out of the mobile app and go more into the software. Unless there's more questions, we can answer some more questions as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything necessarily related to the mobile app. The other feature that came to mind for me for this question about interpreting data is the input usage analyzer too. So Dana, at some point, as we go back to product, that might be of interest as we think about, okay, what can I do with my data?
Yeah, definitely. You want to just jump into that now?
Yeah, let's go there. And then Rory, we'll take your question next.
Perfect. Awesome. So actually, this just came up to me 3 weeks ago. I was sitting down with a grower who just started using Granular Business, and he said, one thing, I buy my fertilizer all in bulk at the start of the year, and I'd had a plan to spread X amount of pounds, per acre. And essentially what ended up happening is, that he used to, before Granular, he used to take that, let's just call it 100 ton, right? I used to buy 100 ton and I used to bring that all in. And then I just used to put that onto my corn plan. That was what my starter was or whatever. He would never actually go back and look at exactly what he applied where and look at all the applications. So in this given year, he'd ordered, it was like 100 ton that he'd bought. He'd only applied 80. Right, so Granular's showing that there should be 20 tons sitting in his warehouse, and there's none in there. Right, so he's actually able to find out that he was short shipped and overcharged for 20 tons. quite quickly. So I think that's one thing that I'd like to highlight about the input analyzer and being able to actually look at all the usage. That's just one story, but Jace, maybe you can walk through this too, because you probably built custom plans, or even Beth, if you have anything you want to add about how you've potentially used this.
Yeah,
tool.
definitely with custom, like I think a big thing that a lot of customers I work with get value out of is breaking down by entity. So Dana, if you go over, you can see like in those rows and columns, if you just go to like a blank custom report,
Yep.
you have the ability to really customize these however you would want. And so you can really start to break down and look at the various rows and columns. I think if you do the filter, if you oh, it's up there at the top there by the print
Sorry.
and export.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, you really can break down even by entity is one that I think most people, it's a pretty common scenario where you might have 3 or 4 different entities on the farm and you all purchase the same product and chemical together, and then you need to break out who's responsible for what. And so we do a pretty clear and concise job of breaking out product usage or input usage by entity. Same thing with field, and you can look at planned versus actual rates and seeing kind of what all went on. And yeah, certainly I've had a few success stories of customers where maybe they brought a whole truckload of chemical out and they filled up their their tanks, and the truck left with half a chemical load and they got billed for the whole thing. And the one I'm thinking of in particular, they saved about $15,000 because they accidentally attributed the whole load to them when they actually brought half of it back. And because they were tracking their input usage, they were able to show it.
I think those are great examples where we have found this most useful is comparing year over year, right? So it seems like we're putting more in on this year. How does that relate to, corn on that field from 2 years ago? It's been helpful from that sense. Cool. All right, let's go to Rory's question. So Rory is asking, regarding certain basic agronomic data, is it easy to transfer this information to an end user who may require the information? Are there any APIs built in to make for seamless data transition? And then he notes, obviously it depends on the tech stack, but to me, this seems kind of a reporting and how to work with, partners and advisors. So Dana or Jace, how would you answer that question?
Yeah, I think this falls more into reporting. I think the question is just more, are we able to take data from like agronomic software and see what was applied? I mean, this system can work off completely applied data. So for example, I do have customers that use our Granular Agronomy product to write their scripts. And once it's actually been applied, we can take that data and then put it down to field by field planning. But Jason, what type of a report would you show in your case if you were looking at this? I'd probably be looking at input analyzer and looking at the price of each usage down to the field and be creating a custom report for that.
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on who the end user is and kind of what information they need. I guess as far as basic agronomic data, if you're just looking at, hey, I sprayed this pre-emerge mix of these chemicals at this rate, our input application reports, I think that whole reports tab is really focused on getting data out. So you'll see the different ones there, inputs, yield, field history, just really kind of depends on what you're looking for. But specifically that input one would, basically any input that happened that went on a certain field, anytime from seed, chemical, fertilizer, anytime that's applied, we're going to be able to show that, and then also show the weather data and everything else you can kind of see on that screen there. But as far as exporting data out, that's kind of where that reports tab is. And also with, like, we were just on that input usage analyzer tab, there's tons of custom views that you can have. So yes, this is an example of an application record. So just like you can see here, this would show exactly the product, rate, the timing, all the details, and all the documentation that would go along with it. And yeah, kind of bring that out. So folks that do a lot of custom work find this really, really helpful, just because they have all of the information as far as wind speed, temperature, time of day, anything that goes on with that where they need to kind of cover their basis. And it's just a nice, I've gotten comments that it's nice to be able to still hand a physical, piece of paper report to a customer. And, it just kind of, makes it seem, you're reputable. You're crossing your T's, you're dotting your I's. And, it's just a nice kind of professional product that you can hand to someone in that certain scenario.
So follow up, Jace, is that just a click of a button, or how long does it take to physically produce these reports?
Yeah, once your data's in, for something like that, 10 seconds maybe to generate it. So
Cool.
hopefully that hit on the, if we didn't hit your question exactly, feel free to get back in. But as far as kind of exporting data and getting it out, definitely we understand there's a lot of people that could use the information you're gathering. So we try to make it easy to get the data out of here.
Yeah, I guess, and I'll hit on that too. Like one report that Jace didn't talk about, right? We have like landowner yield reports and yield by field reports, right? So, this is customizable these reports are customizable as essentially from your data and what you're looking to get out. So I'm going to take it back over to here too, right? So we've talked a lot about, the input analyzer and essentially putting the price to all of your costs associated with running your farm. And what we've done is we've compiled all that data into this dashboard essentially. So the dashboard is a compilation of all the data and financials of your farm. And this is kind of a macro view, if you will, of the health of the entire farm, where you've got, your revenue at the top. And then when we look at crop profitability, right, this is your corn, your soybeans, alfalfa, waxy grain, right? We can look at this by the price per acre. We can also be looking at this by units. So here in Canada, a lot of the times I'll set this up by ton. Some individuals we will be wanting to look at this by the metric ton. If you want to go into more of a macro view, this is where we can go to Profit Analyzer. And this is where we can look at each individual field. I can show you that here quickly too, if everyone's interested, and I most likely will. The other thing that you can quickly take a quick peek at also too is, Profit Analyzer in terms of what your break even is by crop type. So, if corn market rallies and you want to know what your break even price is based on a forecasted yield, it's all right here in real time based on where you are at any given time in the season. I did touch on being able to manage your contracts. So you put your contracts in here, and based on what your forecasted yield level is and what you've got contracted already in either futures or basis contracts, that's showing up here. So 16% of your forecasted yield is locked into commercial grain forward contract or futures contracts. And then through harvest, this is always really handy throughout harvest, is being able to actually see a running average of your yield, and obviously looking at exactly what's sitting in the bins. So again, this is more of a macro view of the farm. If you want to look at any of this in detail, you click this right here. We go to Profit Analyzer. Now, Profit Analyzer, there's different ways that you can look at this. A lot of my growers really like to, if I want to look at, just commercial corn, I can be looking at my corn. I can be looking at my complete plan of production revenue, where I'm actually sitting on based on what I've truly already sold this year and exactly where I'm forecasted. So Granular takes your plan, what's actually happened, and calculates the outcome of a forecast, which is really handy to be able to do this from all aspects of your operation. If you want to just look at multiple boundaries in commercial corn, you can select the end commercial corn. If you want to look at all boundaries, you can select all your different fields. If you want to look at, beans and corn, and you can essentially look at your forecast and see exactly where your forecast is on every single field from a dollars and cents standpoint. This beautiful button down here, right? This is where you can kind of come look at your top or your bottom fields. Typically when I'm working with farms, and Jace, I don't know, maybe you can attest to this, and even Beth yourself as a user, I typically like to look at the bottoms. Where am I losing the most this year, and how can I kind of tighten that up in season? Is there what can I do to like control the things that I can actually control here?
Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's nice to be able to just like, it's kind of just like an itemized list, right? You can, when you look at that, you're pretty clearly going to see like, okay, well, land cost, I can control that to a certain extent, but is this person actually going to go, $50 lower on cash rent, or input costs? That's something you have control over. And that's kind of, again, where you can start thinking like, all right, well, can I take breaks on this? Can I try a different chemical program that might, tweak my yield because I'm going to, put on this? And you can just really run some different scenarios and just, kind of plug and play with some different numbers and kind of see what it breaks down to. Because exactly like you said, there's things you can control and things you can't. Fixed costs, you have a cost of operating, you have a cost of doing your business. Those things are hard to, you're not going to not run your tractors across your field, or you're not going to not pay for your fuel. There's this cost of doing business. So yeah, it's exactly like Dana said, the things you can control is definitely where we want to focus on trying to make those changes.
And quite frankly, a lot of the times when I see negative numbers, even with some of the farms that I work really closely with, sometimes it's just bad data, right? Like I can look on this field 400, right? We haven't set a yield base. We haven't set a yield target on this field, right? So of course we don't have anything forecast, and we're going to lose $99,000. We haven't even set what we're going to make from a revenue standpoint. So also I like looking at this to see how the data also looks too coming into the system as well.
Yep.
I think one last thing that I'll finish up with here, and if we want to open it back up, we can open it back up, but is contract manager. This is something that I really enjoy using, because there's a lot of thought process that goes into marketing grain, and like what's on hand, what do the fields look like today, and we're able to essentially look at the details of the entire contract. So this would be commercial grain. 16% is contracted, right? If we look down at, this is one of the contracts that we have with ADM. We have 15,000 bushels booked with them. We've delivered 6,667 bushels. Or sorry, we've delivered 8,000, and we have 6,000 basically left to deliver. Right? You hit this little truck, and this is where you can see each load that essentially left the yard and was shipped to them. Not sure with a lot of people on the call, but I work really closely with a farm here in the Ottawa area. They've got a lot of loads coming and going at all times. They love this. Like, they love to be able to take a look at where they're contracted. If the price goes up, they're able to come in here and just quickly look at selling at $12, and when they start hitting fields, they could take this up. I know Omafra put out a report for my area that apparently we're going to have 68 bushel beans here. Would love to see that, right? And essentially you change these numbers, and it changes your uncontracted grain, what's available, then updates your profit and loss. So we take all of your costs, all of your uncontracted, what's not contracted, and basically allow you to market a little bit more confidently. Thanks,
Dana. I did just launch a related poll. So if you're joining us and want to type in anonymously, if the amount of grain you have on hand and the inputs you have, it's just an interesting question. I'll share the results, but obviously that question ties right into what you're showing, Dana.
Yeah, great. And then I think one other thing that I'll quickly show here too is reconciling harvest. It can also be a challenge, right? Some people have grain cart scales. They have grain cart scales. They also have, a scale potentially at home, or they've got a yield monitor, right? We're able to basically take all those sources of data and tie it to a boundary. So one central place, you can essentially come up and clean every single load and make sure that data is correct before moving it into inventory. And Jason, I don't know if you want to talk about this when you help customers. I mean, harvest essentially is one of the busier times of the year.
Yeah, yep. So that might just tie in right to a question that we got. I don't, Beth, you care if I just read that out because it kind of hits in on exactly what I was
I
going to
just saw
answer.
that. Well,
Okay.
go for it.
Yeah. So Rory, so you mainly enter these tickets, or is it synced up with Elevator system? If so, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So we do have an integration, and I guess Dana, you might be more aware to their presence or lack of up there with Bushel.
Yeah, not too much
Okay.
up here, but yeah, I can also show the mobile app where you just take
Yeah.
pictures of your scale tickets too.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, with these tickets, right? They're on the mobile app is a way where you can just quickly enter those in. Don't have to go back later and enter those in. Honestly, everyone's kind of got a process that they're comfortable with and what works best for them. So like as a CSM, I'm kind of picking your brain, seeing what works best for you, kind of what your process is and how we can streamline it. So as we're entering these in, like we said, for grain carts, if you've got maybe agromatics on your grain carts, it's going to put out a CSV spreadsheet out of the software. Or even better yet, if it's going straight to LibreCart on your app or your web, you can download that spreadsheet and actually upload it right into Granular, and it's going to bring over all those loads for you. Same thing depending on what your elevator system. A lot of elevators will be able to provide that same kind of information. If we can get that information into CSV format, we can upload that into Granular and eliminate the manual entry there. But a lot of guys I work with, honestly, will just take advantage of the mobile app and just be entering those in. Whoever's in the grain cart or whoever's sitting at the home farm at the scale, they've just got an iPad or something pulled up right there, and they just take the 30 seconds to punch it in as it's going. And then that just benefits everybody, right? Because you're getting a real-time look at your inventory. Maybe your grain is going to dry for 3 or 4 days over here, and then it's getting hauled to town. You can be able to track that going from every little place to your bins, getting dried, show that going out to the elevator. So really just, the thing I'm going to harp on is the more information you can put in real time, the far more valuable that information is going to be, in my opinion.
Yep, that's great. Any other questions around harvest or grain handling?
I don't see anything, but Rory says cheers. Thanks, Rory.
Thanks, Rory.
2 o'clock on a Friday. It's about getting to that
Yep.
time. Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
So
Anything else you wanted to show, Dana? Otherwise, I have some questions, some FAQs that we hear from farmers. But
yeah,
anything else
I
you have
mean,
to share?
yeah, we could spend another hour showing different functionality and doing product puke, but I would rather just maybe answer some of your questions, and maybe there's some questions that that the group wants to hear that you'll ask. So
Yeah, I'll ask a few, but again, in the audience, feel free to use the Q&A. We're happy to show other parts of the product too. We've got that open. So, but one that I hear frequently, Jason, Dan, I'm sure you do too, is how do we fit into Corteva, right? So obviously Granular, we're a subsidiary of Corteva Agriscience, but what's the relationship like? How do we fit into their portfolio? Curious how you answer that, Dana and Jace.
yeah, I mean, I can take that on. So essentially, Granular was its own company until 2007, and we were purchased by Pioneer, which was a brand of Corteva. Now we are the complete digital arm of Corteva Agriscience. So we work with Pioneer seed reps, several retailers with different products, and essentially what we're doing is working alongside great products that you can buy through Corteva and complementing those with the digital software component as well. Being there on farm to help you with every aspect of your operation, from digital to inputs.
Awesome. So the natural follow-up, do you have to use Pioneer seed or Corteva crop protection to use Granular?
No, you don't. No, not at all. But yeah.
Awesome. Anything to add, Jace?
Nope, I don't think so. I think Dana hit on it pretty well, and certainly as we keep building out these portfolio of products, it's exciting to watch it all come together.
Awesome. So next question I hear a lot is acreage, right? So is there an ideal size when it comes to the number of acres you farm in order to see benefit and value from granular business? I'm sure you guys have also heard that.
Yeah.
What's your, yeah.
I work with growers that are shy of 500 acres right to growers here in Ontario. They're 18,000 acres. So it's right across the board. I like using the analogy of granular business almost like a gym membership, right? It's a really great program no matter what your acres are. If you show up, you put in the work, you're going to get fit. You're going to be in shape. It's a great tool. It comes with great software, great trainers, but you still have to put in the work. So I like to call granular business almost like a gym membership. So if it's a farm really looking to get better and really wants to dial in their numbers and is willing to put in the work, I think acres is pretty much irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I would agree. I think no matter what your size, you're going to find value in certain things. Where you find that value might be different. Example, right? Large, like you said, 18,000 acres, they're probably going to get some benefit out of being able to have some task management and, be able to send out work orders to people's phones and say, hey, you need to go here today. You need to go here. You need to go here, instead of, being on the phone, text, call, whatever that looks like. Someone that's farming, by themselves or potentially one other person, they're probably not going to get benefit out of, standing, 6 feet away now and saying, hey, I'm going to shoot you this I'm going to shoot you this work order. Why don't you go do that? Like, no. So, you're going to find value in different parts of it. There's going to be parts that are more beneficial, for the larger folks with larger operations. But I mean, as far as like the financials and the input tracking, I mean, that's consistent, I think, no matter what your acres are.
Awesome. I love the gym membership analogy. That's a keeper. Thanks, Dana. Makes total sense. Okay. Last one for me, I think, and again, this is another hot topic, not just at Granular, but I think in ag tech overall. Who owns the data in granular business, right? When it comes to data privacy and data ownership, I guess what's our stance on that? Dana, Jace, either of you can answer that, but hot topic that is probably top of mind for folks.
Yeah, this one comes up a lot, absolutely. And the answer is the farm owns the data, right? So if you decide to come on with granular business and you're here for 3 years, it's always your data. Your data privacy is kept private. The only person that sees it is yourself and your customer success manager. And if you decide to part ways with Granular after a few years, we basically zip up that data file and send it back over to you.
Cool. Yep. Thanks, Dana. All right, I lied. I do have one more question for both of you. As you think towards the future, right, and you guys know bits and pieces of probably what's coming down our pipeline and what we're working on, but as a whole, what excites you, right? What are you really optimistic about when it comes to Granular or even just, ag tech in general in the next year or two? What's top of mind that gets you pumped?
Go ahead, Jace. You go ahead. What are you guys thinking in Iowa? Autonomous equipment or what?
Gee, thanks. I mean, honestly, like just the vast of people, like the vast array of folks I work with in Canada, it's just the opportunity to really better your operation. I know that sounds super maybe cheesy, salesy, corny, but like the truth of the matter is people that put in the time and commit themselves to a product such as this, it's pretty hard to not get value out of it if you don't commit yourself. It's been so exciting working with people and just hearing the success stories of whether it was, oh, we caught this load, we saved money on this, or it's like it's made my life so much easier. I just, we're already kind of breaking through that. And I mean, we've got obviously a large team of engineers that are continuing to make the product better every day. And so definitely like folks like myself, Dana, like we really try to build the software off of the suggestions and the feedback that we hear. So I think that's what's most exciting. you're in a roundabout way, our customers are building the software and knowing how it fits their operations. So I guess to me, it's just the opportunity that's ahead. And, you know, we're streamlining all the time. It's getting better. And yeah, I just think it's the opportunity to really grow and help people get that financial insight into their business. Because I mean, farming's a business. There's 10 million other softwares for any other business on keeping track of profitability. And so why shouldn't farming be any different?
Yeah, great answer. I mean, I'd echo a lot of the things that you said, but I think one of the biggest things that excites me just in the ag tech industry as a whole, I've been doing this, you know, for the last 3 years, and just what I'm seeing out there really excites me. You know, you've got, you know, John Deere Ops Center that's really starting to take off. You've got you know, Case Connect. A lot of the equipment manufacturers are already starting to build these big cloud platforms where all the data is going up. So, you know, from working with Granular, the one thing that really excites me is we're going to be able to tie into all that data and put it into one central place to really allow the farmer to just manage, you know, 17 different technologies that they might be looking at right now and just putting it into one. So I guess that's the big thing that really excites me in ag tech. I mean, I remember going to Commodity Classic for the first time 3 years, and it was just the typical people we saw you know, this year you're seeing Amazon and Microsoft on the list. So I just think that's really, really cool that, you know, big tech companies are really starting to look at agriculture and really wanting to help the farm manage their data easier.
Great answers. Thanks for taking that curveball, guys. That was a fun way to end. All right, last question, Dana, before we thank our audience. How can folks get a hold of you, right? So you've covered a lot of the product, but I'm sure it's always easier to understand when it's your own data and you're talking about your own farm. So if folks on the line want to reach out and hear more, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you see my screen again here?
We can.
Perfect. Awesome. So I guess I'll just take this thing off here. So yeah, I'll just put up my, I can mention this too. So for anybody on the call, if you are interested in this and you want to get hold, we are doing a limited time promotion for the month of September. Just for growers who may be on this call, we're offering the software out for 18 months of service for the price of 12. If you are interested in this, you can essentially reach out to me if you want. You can take down my information on this slide, quickly jot that down and email me directly or call me or text me. Alternatively, you can reach out to your local Pioneer rep in your area or Corteva retailer, and you can ask for more information on Granular Business, and you will you'll be put in touch with the digital business manager of your area.
Awesome. Thanks, Dana. Okay.
Thank you.
With that, I think we're right on time. I'd like to thank everyone in the audience for attending on a Friday afternoon during harvest. So thanks for hanging out with us. Like Dana said, if you have any follow-up questions or anything that you'd like to, you know, talk one-on-one, feel free to reach out to him. But with that, I'd just like to say thank you. Any parting comments, Dana or Jace, from you guys?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for taking the time. Always a pleasure to be able to answer some questions and chat digital ag with folks here in Ontario. Thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you in person at this show next year.
Yep, likewise.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your afternoon.